So what started out as a motorcycle company and not a car company, and not even under the Škoda badge, but under the names of Lauren and Clement. Now they started out with bikes, okay, and they did quite well. They even went on to produce cars under the same name, L&K. And a few decades later, after their start in the late 1800s, a fire broke out at the factory, turned everything to dust. And who came to save them was the company you guessed, Škoda Works. And Škoda Works at that time was an arms dealer, and the World War I was just around the corner. But soon the World War ended, and the demand for guns went down and cars came up. And Škoda saw the success of the L&K company and decided to give their hands at car making. And in 1924, the first Škoda rolled out. Now, there are many successful names under this badge from like the 1930s, starting with like the 110, the 130, even two iconic names that are used till date, namely the Rapid and the Superb. Now, a few decades later from the 1930s, in the 1960s to be specific, another legend was born. A legend that we know till date, a very successful one in fact, the Octavia. Now, India got the first Octavia in the early 2000s, and boy was it a hit right away. Good design, good build quality, and the best part of all, the engine. A 4-cylinder, 20-valve, 1.8-litre turbo petrol. The country's first. A hit among the enthusiasts. Everybody wanted one. The car was a great success and went on to tell a lot of good stories. But 2 decades later, and the name with the iconic RS badge still lives on. And though we have reached at the Octavia 245, some enthusiasts claim that the sweet spot is still at the 230, and that is what we have with us today. So ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you the Octavia 230.
So with a short history lecture from Francis, coming back to the present with me, what we have with us today here is the legendary RS230, and boy, it'll render you speechless. Now, although the 245 came with only 200 units in India, the RS230 was not far behind with only 500 units, making them both very desirable cars, and every enthusiast out there had their eyes on them. But only a few lucky 700 people had a chance to say that they had an Octavia RS in their garage. So the RS245 makes 15 bhp more and 20 Newton meters of torque more in comparison to the RS230, which makes 227 bhp and 350 Newton meters of torque, which isn't a big difference. So what is the difference then between the RS230 and the RS245 apart from the engine tune? Well, in the RS245 you have features like virtual cockpit, you have heated steering wheel, you have an electronic differential lock, you also have bigger 18-inch Vega alloy wheels and an extra airbag. In terms of performance, you have bigger brakes as well on the RS245 in comparison to the RS230, and you have a gearless. So the RS245 has the DQ381 gearbox and the RS230 has the DQ250. But is this any slower compared to the RS245? Do you really feel the difference of 15 bhp? Not really. Not at all actually. Step on the throttle and the response is immediate. You find the boost at 1500 rpm all the way going up to 6500 rpm. Now when we reviewed the Vento 1.2 TSI a couple of years back, Francis had complained about not being pushed in the seat. He said the same thing about my Stage 1 Tune GT TSI as well. But today morning when he got in this, well, see for yourself. So the reputation of the DSG speaks for itself. The shifts are that quick and you hit triple digit speeds before you can even start saying your morning prayers. Coming to the suspension, I was expecting it to be really firm, being a performance car, but it's surprisingly comfortable. And even though it sits low, and even though we don't get the adaptive dampers from the European RSs, surprisingly the RS245, being a CBU, doesn't get it at 45 lakh rupees. The steering on the other hand weighs perfectly, it's direct, responsive, and it can be light for city driving. One thing that I'd like to point out about the car are the brakes. They bite, but the stopping power could have been better. Or maybe that's just down to the tires on this car too. They are on the way to depletion. A lot of hard launches done when this car was new. So maybe it's just that. But a few RS245 owners have mentioned that the RS245's bite is slightly better and noticeable as well. Speaking about the rest of the car, we start from the outside. A beautiful looking car, but I still prefer the older headlamp setup which never came to India compared to this generation's quad headlamp setup. Coming to the side, you have a beautiful sedan silhouette with 17-inch dual-tone alloys. However, people always complained about the rear wheels not filling the wheel arches as much as they should, and I feel the same. Come to the rear and I will straight away tell you that the LED tail lamps are way better than the previous generation. You have a simple looking spoiler and feels very understated, but it accompanies the looks of the car perfectly, giving it that bit more sportier look. Same goes with the exhaust tips. The best bits about this car is the stock exhaust note that is missing on the RS245. Pops, crackles and overruns all in stock form.
So Mr. Happy Pereira, how was your drive?
I'm speechless. Now, although the RS245 is out in the market, the RS230 is a sweet spot. It was much more affordable and is not way behind the RS245. Now, the exhaust note is something that I would die for, and I would pick the RS230 over the RS245. What about you?
Well, I'm with you on the 230 over the 245, but I think I'll still go for the Mark 1.
I kind of expected that, knowing you're a vintage kind of guy, and you also own the Mark 1, of course. So with that guys, we end up today's video. Hope you all enjoyed it, hope you all loved it. Do let us know in the comment section down below what are your thoughts on the car. Do not forget to subscribe so that we have a lot more content coming your way. See you next video.